The market was loud with voices. Merchants shouted prices, soldiers walked with heavy boots, machines rumbled in the distance. But in one broken corner of the colony, there was silence. She sat there, small and thin, her knees pulled to her chest, her face hidden behind long, tangled hair, her silver eyes staring down at the dust. Nobody saw her. Nobody wanted to see her. She was the alien girl everyone called cursed. Children pointed from far and whispered. Old women pulled their own children away when she passed. Traders turned their faces in disgust. Her body was marked with faint, glowing lines, almost like cracks of light under her skin, and people feared it. For hours she sat in the shadows between two ruined walls, her stomach empty, her lips dry. But tears rolled down her cheeks. She did not even wipe them away anymore. She had cried so long that even her tears had no sound. The colony was broken after the war. Buildings half destroyed, lights flickering weakly above the streets. Many were poor, many were hungry, but still they said the girl was worse than hunger. They said she was bad luck. They said anyone who touched her would lose everything, and so she was left alone. But one pair of eyes saw her, not with fear, not with hate, but with something else. The human janitor walked past with a broom on his shoulder and a bag of tools at his side, his clothes dirty, his hands rough. He was not important in the colony, just another worker cleaning the broken walkways, sweeping the dust from the machines. Yet his steps slowed when he saw the girl in the shadows. Something about the way her shoulders shook quietly. Something about the way her small hands clutched the stone floor. It made him stop. For a moment he just watched her, and in that moment, the noise of the market seemed far away. He remembered another time long ago when he too was left behind, when no one cared if he lived or died. He walked closer. The girl noticed his shadow fall across her. Her eyes lifted quickly, silver and glowing faintly, and fear flashed in them. She pushed herself back against the wall, her lips trembling. "Don't," she whispered, her voice broken and soft. "Don't come near me, I am cursed." The human did not move for a second. Then he slowly sat on the ground a few feet away from her. Not too close, not too far. He placed his broom beside him and leaned his elbows on his knees. "I don't believe in curses," he said quietly, his voice calm, like he was speaking to himself more than her. The girl shook her head, her tears fresh again. "Everyone says it. They say my light brings death. They say I was born wrong. They say I should not live." The human's chest grew heavy hearing those words. How many times had she heard them? How deep the wound must be. He looked at her small arms, the glowing marks that pulsed faintly like starlight trapped under skin. To others it was scary, but to him it was strangely beautiful. "Maybe they are wrong," he said after a pause. "Maybe you are not cursed, maybe you are something else." The girl looked at him, her eyes wide, confused, like nobody had ever spoken such words to her before. The crowd around them did not care. No one noticed a human worker talking to the saddest alien girl. The market noise continued, but in that forgotten corner, a different story was starting. Still, fear did not leave the girl's face. She hugged her knees tighter. "If you stay near me, you will lose your job, you will lose your food. They will hate you too." The human gave a small, tired smile. "They already don't care about me. I am just a janitor cleaning their dirt. What more can I lose?" The girl's lips parted, but no words came. Silence stretched between them, only the soft sound of her breathing and the distant hum of machines. At last, the human reached into his bag and pulled out a small piece of bread, dry and rough. Not much, but more than she had. He set it down carefully on the ground between them and pushed it a little closer. Her eyes locked on the bread, her body trembling. She wanted it, but fear held her back. Her lips pressed tightly as if fighting inside herself. The human did not force her. He only leaned back against the wall and looked away, giving her the choice. Minutes passed, long and heavy, then slowly, with shaking fingers, the girl reached out and pulled the bread into her hands. She bit it, small at first, then faster, desperate, tears still falling as she ate. The human did not move. He only watched the market across the street, pretending not to notice, giving her dignity. When the bread was gone, the girl whispered, her voice so soft he almost missed it. "Why did you help me?" she asked. "No one ever helps me." The human turned his head, and for a moment his tired eyes met her glowing ones. "Because I know what it feels like to be unseen," he said, "and I don't want you to be unseen anymore." The girl froze, her breath caught, and in that moment something shifted, tiny but real, like the first spark in a long dark night. She did not know it yet, and he did not know it either. But this moment in the shadows would change everything. For her, for him, and maybe even for the stars themselves. The night was cold in the broken colony. The air carried dust and smoke. Lights flickered weakly above the narrow streets. Many people slept hungry, but none more than the girl hiding. In the shadows, she sat behind an old metal crate, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the dark, and her stomach made a small, painful sound. Hunger had been her oldest companion, hunger that no one cared to fill. The bread the human gave her earlier was gone, only crumbs left in her small hands, but her body wanted more. Her chest ached, her lips dry again, yet she tried to stay quiet, afraid someone would hear her. The human janitor returned, walking slowly with his tired steps, his broom against his shoulder, a small bag hanging at his side. He always walked, like a man forgotten by the world. But tonight he carried something extra in that bag. He stopped when he reached her corner. His eyes softened as he saw her trembling in the cold. "I brought you something," he said simply, and he pulled out a piece of fruit. Not fresh, a little bruised but still sweet inside. The girl's eyes widened, her lips parted but no words came. Her hands shook as she reached for it, then pulled back, fear flashing in her face. "Why?" she whispered. "Why are you doing this for me?" The human placed the fruit gently on the ground, pushing it toward her, then leaned back against the wall. "Because no one else will," he answered, his voice steady but quiet. "And because you should not starve while they all look away." For a long moment, the girl stared at the fruit, then at him, then back at the fruit. Slowly, her small fingers touched it, lifted it, and brought it close to her lips. When she bit into it, juice ran down her chin, her eyes closed, and for the first time in days a soft sound escaped her lips. Not a sob, not a cry, but something almost like relief. The human did not smile, but his chest felt lighter seeing her eat. Still, he noticed how fast she devoured it, as if she had been starving for far longer than anyone guessed. When the fruit was gone, she wiped her mouth with the back of her hand, then whispered, "You should stop coming if the guards see you with me. They will punish you." The human shrugged, his eyes tired but calm. "I have lived with punishment. My whole life, it makes no difference." The girl lowered her gaze. Her fingers traced the glowing lines on her arm, lines that pulsed faintly in the darkness. She tried to hide them under her torn sleeves, but the light always slipped through. "Do you know why they call me cursed?" she asked suddenly, her voice trembling. "It is not only the light on my skin, it is what grows inside me." The human's eyes sharpened. He leaned forward a little. "What do you mean?" he asked. She hugged her knees tighter, fear rising in her face. "Sometimes when I am too hungry, the light grows stronger. It burns inside me, like fire, like stars trying to escape. I do not understand it, but they say it will destroy anyone near me." The human watched her carefully. He saw the way her small body shook not only from fear, but from exhaustion, from carrying a burden too heavy for her age. "Has it hurt anyone before?" he asked softly. The girl's lips trembled, and tears filled her eyes. "Once," she whispered. "When I was younger, when I cried too long, the walls of my home cracked." My mother screamed. The light spread across the floor. They dragged me away and left me here. They said I was dangerous. They said I was better forgotten. Her words cut deep into the silence. The human's fists clenched against his knees. Anger rose in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "You are not dangerous," he said firmly. "You are just alone, and they made you believe lies." The girl looked at him, her silver eyes shining with tears. "But what if it happens again? What if I hurt you?" The human shook his head slowly. "Then I will take the risk because your life is worth more than their fear." For a long time she stared at him, her lips parting as if to argue, but no sound came. Instead, she lowered her gaze again, the weight of his words too heavy to carry all at once. Around them, the market grew quieter, the noise fading as people returned to their homes. Shadows stretched longer across the broken streets. Only the faint glow of her markings lit their small corner. The human stood at last, brushing dust from his clothes. "I will come again tomorrow," he said, his voice steady. "Eat. Rest. Do not give up yet." The girl's small voice followed him as he walked away. "Why do you care so much?" He paused, his back turned, the night air heavy between them. "Because once, long ago," he said slowly, "someone cared enough to save me too." Then he walked into the dark, leaving her with the last piece of fruit and a new question burning in her heart. For the first time, the girl felt something strange under her hunger, something she had not felt in a long time, a small spark of hope, and, deep inside her, the glowing light pulsed stronger, not with fear this time, but with something else, something waiting to awaken. The colony night was long, the sky above covered with smoke and broken satellites, but in the small corner where the girl hid, another kind of light glowed softly. She sat with her knees pulled up, her arms around herself, her silver eyes staring at the dirt. The glowing lines on her skin pulsed faintly, almost alive, sometimes brighter, sometimes dim, as if they followed her heartbeat. She hated them, these lights that marked her. She tried to cover them with rags, with dirt, with ash, but the glow always returned. No matter what she did, when the human came back the next morning, carrying his broom and his small bag, he noticed how she kept pulling her sleeves down, how her small fingers dug into the cloth to hide the light. "You don't need to hide," he said softly, placing a small piece of bread and some dried meat near her, her head lifted quickly, fear flashing in her silver eyes. "Yes, I do," she whispered. "If they see, they will come. They will take me again." The human leaned against the broken wall, his broom resting at his side. He shook his head slowly. "Let them see," he said, his voice steady. "It is not a curse, it is beauty." The girl's lips parted, disbelief on her face. "Beauty," she repeated as if the word was foreign. "No one has ever called it that. They say it is a disease, a fire that will spread and burn everyone." The human's eyes rested on her glowing arms, the faint blue-white light that shimmered under. Her thin skin, to others it was frightening, but to him it was like looking at starlight trapped in fragile glass. "Do you know what it reminds me of?" he asked quietly. "It looks like the night sky, the way stars shine in the dark. People fear what they do not understand, but that does not make it ugly." The girl's breath caught. She looked at him with wide eyes, a tear slipping down her cheek. "You speak as if I am not broken," she whispered. "You are not broken," the human said firmly. "You are different, and that is not the same as broken." For a moment silence wrapped around them, heavy and soft. Only the faint hum of broken streetlights and the far voices of traders filled the air. But as the girl lifted her sleeve higher, showing more of the glowing lines, a group of children spotted her from across the market. Their eyes widened and fear twisted into cruel laughter. "Look, the cursed one is still alive," one of them shouted. "Her skin burns with the star plague." Other voices joined, sharp and mocking. Stones were picked up. One hit the ground near her, dust rising into the air. The girl flinched and pulled her sleeve down again, tears burning in her eyes. The human stood up quickly, his shoulders straight, his voice cutting through the noise. "Enough," he said, his tone sharper than the children had ever heard from a worker like him. "Go home before I tell the guards you were throwing stones." The children froze, muttered curses, then scattered, disappearing into the crowd. The girl's body shook, shame heavy on her face. "Do you see?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "They will never stop, they will always hate me. I should not exist." The human crouched down beside her, his rough hand brushing dust from the ground. Not touching her yet, but close. "Listen to me," he said, his voice low and steady. "You exist, and that is enough. Their fear does not decide your worth." Her eyes met his, wide and wet with tears. "But the light inside me, it grows stronger. she said. Sometimes it feels like it wants to come out. Sometimes I dream that the stars call to me, and I wake up afraid that I will burn everything around me. The human studied her carefully, his brow furrowed, but instead of fear there was thought in his eyes, deep thought, as if he was trying to piece together something far older than either of them. Maybe the stars are not calling to hurt you, he said slowly. Maybe they are calling because you belong with them. The girl's breath caught again, his words strange yet comforting. Belong, she repeated, the word trembling on her lips. Yes, the human said. You are not cursed, you are chosen. I do not know for what yet, but I will find out, and I will not leave you. For the first time, a faint spark of something new flickered in her silver eyes, not just hunger or fear, but the beginning of belief. Yet around them, whispers began to spread. People in the market noticed the girl again, noticed the light she could not hide. Their voices sharp and filled with anger. The cursed child is still here. Someone muttered. She will bring ruin. She must be taken away. The human glanced at the crowd forming, his jaw tight, his body ready. He knew this was only the beginning, reached for his bag and whispered to the girl, "Stay close to me." She nodded, her small hands trembling, the light under her skin pulsing brighter with every heartbeat. And as the crowd's voices grew louder, the girl's markings glowed like stars ready to awaken. Neither she nor the human knew it yet, but her light would soon reveal a truth greater than curses or fear, a truth that would change everything. The morning in the colony began with shouts and the sound of metal shutters opening. Merchants pulled out their goods. Guards walked with their weapons clanging. The smell of smoke mixed with old spices filled the broken air, but under this noise something darker moved. Whispers had spread through the night. The cursed girl was alive. The cursed girl was glowing brighter, and whispers always reached the ears of hunters. From the far end of the market came 3 tall figures, their faces hidden under dark hoods, their boots heavy, their belts filled with blades and chains. They were not guards. They were bounty men, paid to capture things no one else dared to touch. The girl sat close to the human in their corner, her knees pulled to her chest, her silver eyes wide with fear. She could feel it in the air, the way people looked at her, the way the whispers sharpened like knives. "They are coming," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I feel it." The human looked up and saw them too, moving through the crowd with purpose, their eyes scanning, their hands ready. He stood quickly, his rough hands tightening into fists. He was just a janitor, not a fighter, but he knew if they reached her she would be lost. "Stay close," he whispered, pulling her gently to her feet. "Do not let go of my hand." The girl's small fingers gripped his tightly, trembling but refusing to let go. They moved into the crowd, weaving between merchants and buyers, the noise of bargaining and shouts trying to cover their steps, but the hunters saw them. "There," one growled, pointing with a gloved hand. "The cursed one." The chase began. The human pushed through the market, pulling the girl behind him, his heart pounding, his mind racing. The crowd cried out as the hunters shoved people aside, their chains rattling, their boots slamming against the stone. The girl's markings glowed faintly, fear making the light stronger, people noticed. Gasps spread. Merchants pulled back their goods. Voices rose. "It's her. It's the cursed child." Every eye turned, every hand pointed, fear spread like fire. And the human knew they could not hide anymore. He led her down a narrow alley between 2 broken walls, the smell of rust and rot heavy in the air. "Keep running," he said. "Don't stop." But the hunters were fast, their shadows growing closer, their chains swinging. One landed with a crash against the wall near the girl, sparks flying. She screamed, her silver eyes glowing brighter, the light under her skin pulsing wildly. The human turned sharply, grabbing a broken pipe from the ground. He swung it hard against the hunter's arm. The chain dropped with a clang. The man cursed, but 2 more closed in from behind. "Run!" the human shouted. "Run to the tunnels!" But the girl could not leave him. Her small body froze, her markings burning brighter than ever, her fear pushing against her chest like fire. One hunter reached for her, his gloved hand grabbing her wrist, and the moment he touched her, the light burst. A sharp wave of energy pushed him back, throwing him against the wall with a crash, his scream echoing. The market froze. People gasped. Fear and awe mixing. The girl fell to her knees, trembling, her hands glowing like stars. "I did not mean to," she cried. "I did not mean to." The human grabbed her shoulders, his voice sharp but steady. "Look at me, it is not a curse, it is your strength, now move." Together they ran again, deeper into the market, their breaths heavy, their steps loud, merchants scattered, guards shouted. But the hunters kept coming, their anger stronger now. The chase twisted through broken stairways, narrow bridges above empty alleys, the girl's tears mixing with sweat, her body weak but still moving, the human pulling her forward. With every step, at last, they reached the old entrance to the tunnels under the colony, a dark opening hidden behind broken crates. The air inside was damp and cold. The human pushed her inside, his chest heaving. "Go, quickly." She looked at him, her silver eyes glowing. "They will not stop, they will keep coming because of me." The human shook his head, his voice firm. "Then let them come. As long as I breathe, they will not take you." Behind them, the hunters' voices grew louder, closer, their boots crashing against stone. The girl's small hand reached for his again, and together, they disappeared into the darkness of the tunnels, their footsteps echoing against the stone. Above, in the broken market, the whispers turned into roars, some filled with fear, some with greed. "She has power," they said. "She is dangerous." Others said she is valuable. But none of them saw the truth. None of them saw the way a forgotten janitor held the hand of the saddest alien girl, running into the shadows, protecting her with everything he had. And in the darkness, her markings glowed brighter, not only from fear this time, but from something awakening inside her, something the hunters could never chain, something even she did not yet understand. The chase was not over. It had only just begun. The tunnels stretched for miles under the colony, dark and wet, the air heavy with the smell of rust and damp stone. Drops of water fell slowly from the ceiling, echoing like small heartbeats in the silence. The human and the girl moved deeper, their footsteps soft, their breaths loud. In the stillness behind them, the noise of the hunters faded, but the fear did not. The girl's silver eyes glowed faintly, lighting the tunnel walls with a soft shimmer. The glowing marks on her skin pulsed slowly, casting strange patterns across the stone. It was the only light they had. She was trembling, tired, her small body weak after the chase, but she refused to stop, holding tightly to the human's rough hand, her voice breaking with each step. "They will never stop. They will follow me forever." The human squeezed her hand gently, his voice steady even in the dark. "Then we keep moving, we find a place they cannot reach, a place they will never think to look." For hours they walked, the tunnels twisting like the veins of the colony, broken doors leading to empty storerooms, old pipes rattling faintly, shadows moving like ghosts, until at last they reached a place where the stone changed. The walls here were different, carved not by machines but by hands long forgotten, covered in strange symbols glowing faintly like the girl's markings. She stopped, her breath catching, her silver eyes wide with wonder. "These marks," she whispered, touching the wall with her small fingers. "They are the same as mine." The human stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. He traced one of the symbols with his calloused hand. It shimmered faintly under his touch, as if recognizing her presence. The girl's light grew brighter, her markings pulsing faster. The air itself seemed to hum softly, deep and ancient. "Do you feel it?" she asked, her voice trembling. "It is calling to me." The human nodded slowly, his chest heavy with unease. "This place is older than the colony, older than the war, maybe even older than the people who built these tunnels." She walked forward, her hand brushing against more carvings, and with each touch the glow spread wider across the walls, lighting. Up the chamber ahead it was a cave, hidden deep under stone and silence, wide and tall, the ceiling lost in shadows, the walls covered with thousands of the same glowing symbols. In the center stood a broken structure, half machine, half stone. its surface covered in dust but its core still pulsing faintly with light, like a heart waiting to beat again. The girl gasped, tears filling her silver eyes. "I know this place," she whispered, though she had never been there before. "I have seen it in my dreams, the place where the stars sing." The human looked at her, then at the ancient machine, his jaw tight. "This is no curse," he said quietly. "This is a key, and you are the one meant to use it." But before they could step closer, a sound echoed down the tunnels, chains rattling, boots striking stone. The hunters had not given up, their voices sharp and cruel. "The cursed one is near, find her." The girl's body froze, fear rising again, the light on her skin flickering wildly. But the human placed a hand on her shoulder, steady and strong. "Do not fear. This place belongs to you. They cannot take it from you." The hunters' shadows stretched long at the entrance of the cave, their eyes widening as they saw the glowing walls, their voices filled with greed. "She is not cursed, she is power, and she belongs to us." The girl stepped back, her body shaking. But the machine in the center pulsed stronger, answering her fear with light. The human stood in front of her, his arms spread, his voice sharp. "She belongs to no one." But even as he spoke, the cave began to change. The symbols on the walls lit brighter. The machine's hum grew louder, dust falling from the ceiling as energy filled the air. The girl clutched his arm, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I cannot control it," she cried. "It is too strong." The human turned to her, his rough hands gripping hers firmly. "Yes, you can. You are not alone anymore. Look at me. Breathe. Trust yourself." Her silver eyes locked onto his, trembling but steadying, her breath slowing, the wild flicker of her markings calming into a steady glow. The hunters stepped closer, chains ready, their greed stronger than their fear. But before they could strike, the machine burst with light, filling the cave with a brilliance so strong it blinded them all. The girl cried out, not in fear but in something deeper, something awakening. The markings on her skin shone like stars, connecting to the walls, to the machine, to the very cave itself. And for the first time she felt it, the truth inside her, not cursed, not broken, but chosen. The human shielded his eyes, his heart pounding, but he stood firm beside her, ready for whatever came next. The hunters stumbled back, their voices lost in fear. "She is not a child, she is a weapon," one shouted. "She will burn us all." But the girl's voice rose above theirs, soft but clear. "I am not a weapon," she said. "I am more than what you see." The cave hummed louder, the machine awakening fully, and the hunters, for the first time, hesitated. The forgotten cave had been found, and with it, a truth long buried under fear and lies. And in that moment, the saddest alien girl no longer looked cursed. She looked like a star ready to rise. The cave was alive with light. The old machine pulsed like a beating heart. The walls shone with glowing symbols, the air thick with energy that hummed against their skin. The girl stood in the center, her small body trembling, her silver eyes wide with fear and wonder. The markings on her arms and face blazed brighter than ever, as if the cave itself was answering her. The human stayed close, his rough hands steady on her shoulders, his voice firm though his chest was heavy. "You are not cursed, you are not broken. This place was waiting for you." But the hunters at the entrance did not see wonder. They saw power, their eyes filled with greed, their voices sharp. "Take her," one shouted, raising a chain that sparked with electricity. "She is worth more than gold." They rushed forward, boots slamming against stone, chains rattling, blades ready, their shadows stretching across the cave floor. The girl cried out, covering her face. "I cannot stop them," she whispered. "I will only hurt you." The human pulled her close, his words strong. "You will not hurt me. Listen to your heart, not your fear. The light inside you is not destruction. It is life." His words cut through the noise, through the fear. The girl's breathing slowed, her trembling eased. The light on her skin steadied, not wild but focused, like stars forming constellations. The machine's hum deepened, the symbols on the wall blazed, and suddenly the ground shook, dust falling. From the ceiling, the hunters stumbled, their confidence breaking. "What is happening?" one shouted, his eyes wide with panic. The girl lifted her head, her silver eyes glowing brighter than the chains, her voice soft but steady. "It is me." A beam of light burst from her chest, shooting upward into the ceiling of the cave. Splitting the darkness, the ancient symbols across the stone answered, glowing in patterns that no one could understand but her. The hunters tried to run forward, but the energy pushed them back like a storm wind, their weapons useless, their chains snapping against the floor. The girl raised her small hands and the light followed, weaving into shapes in the air, swirling like stars across the night sky. It was not wild anymore, it was controlled. The human watched in awe, his tired eyes wide, his heart pounding. He had believed in her, but he had never imagined this. One hunter shouted, his voice cracking, with fear, "She is a weapon of the old ones, she will kill us all." But the girl's tears rolled down her glowing cheeks, her voice soft, yet clear. "I am not a weapon." The light shifted, softer now, wrapping around the hunters like chains of starlight, holding them still but not burning them. They cried out, struggling, but the bonds only tightened. The human stepped closer, his voice gentle. "You see, you have control. You can choose what your power does." The girl looked at her hands, glowing like suns, then at him, her breath shaking. "I am not afraid anymore," she whispered. For the first time, she believed her own words. The machine behind her opened slowly, its ancient panels sliding apart, revealing a core filled with swirling light. Older than the colony, older than the war, a secret long forgotten. The girl felt it calling to her, not with fear, but with welcome. She stepped forward, her bare feet glowing against the stone. The human followed, never leaving her side. When her small hands touched the core, the cave erupted in brilliance. A sound like music filled the air, deep and ancient. The hunters screamed and fell to their knees, unable to move under the weight of the power. The human shielded his eyes, but did not step back. He stood strong, watching as the girl lifted her face to the light. Visions filled her mind, stars burning, ships flying, a people long gone who had left behind their knowledge, their hope, hidden in this cave, waiting for someone like her. She saw their faces, not angry, not afraid, but kind, welcoming, their voices echoing in her heart. "You are the bridge, you are the seed, you are not cursed, you are chosen." Tears streamed down her face, but they were not tears of sorrow. Anymore, they were tears of release, of truth. The hunters collapsed. Unconscious, the starlight chains fading, but they were unharmed. The girl had spared them. She had chosen mercy. The human stepped forward, his voice low and filled with pride. "You did it. You found yourself." The girl turned to him, her silver eyes glowing like galaxies, her small voice breaking. "You stayed when no one else did. You gave me strength. I'm not alone anymore." The light in the cave dimmed slowly, the machine returning to silence, but it was not dead. It was awake now, and so was she. Together they stood in the center, the janitor and the alien girl once called cursed, surrounded by the whispers of stars. The human placed his hand gently over hers, rough skin against glowing light. "This is only the beginning," he said, his voice steady. And deep inside her, the girl felt it too, not fear, not hunger, but hope. The awakening had come, and the universe would never be the same. The cave grew quiet again, the humming of the ancient machine fading into silence. The walls no longer burned with bright symbols, but the faint glow remained, soft like the memory of starlight. The girl stood still, her silver eyes shimmering, her small hands no longer trembling. The glowing lines on her skin pulsed gently, steady like a heartbeat at peace. For the first time, she did not feel cursed. She did not feel unwanted. She felt whole. The human watched her quietly, his rough hands resting at his sides, his tired eyes softened. He had seen something no one else had. The moment when the saddest child in the colony had become more than anyone believed. But outside the cave, danger still waited. The hunters stirred, groaning as they pushed themselves off. The ground, fear heavy in their eyes, they no longer looked at her as a prize, but as something beyond their reach. "She spared us," one whispered, his voice shaking. "She could have burned us, but she showed mercy." The human stepped forward, his voice sharp and steady. "Leave this place and tell your masters. She belongs to no one." The hunters did not argue. Their pride broken, they stumbled away into the tunnels, shadows swallowing them whole. The girl watched them go, her voice soft. "They will come again." The human nodded, his jaw tight. "Yes, they will. People always come for what they fear or desire. But now you know the truth. You are not powerless anymore." Her silver eyes lifted to his, glowing with tears. "If you had not stayed, if you had not helped me, I would still be crying in the shadows, waiting to be taken. I would still believe I was cursed." The human knelt before her, his rough hand brushing dust from her arm. "You were never cursed. You were only waiting for someone to see you, and I did." Her small lips curved into the faintest smile, fragile but real. "And because of you, I can see myself now." Two of them left the cave together, their footsteps echoing softly in the tunnels, the girl's glow lighting the way like a lantern. When they reached the surface, the colony lay under a broken sky, smoke rising from distant towers, lights flickering. Weakly, voices of merchants and soldiers filling the streets. But something had changed, not in the colony, not in the people, but in her. She no longer shrank when eyes turned toward her. She no longer pulled down her sleeves to hide her light. The human walked beside her, tall and steady, his broom still tied across his back, but to her he was more than a janitor. He was the one who stayed, the one who gave her hope when no one else would. Whispers rose as they passed. "The cursed child walks again," some said, their voices sharp with fear, but others spoke differently. "She shines like the old ones. She carries light." The girl did not cry this time. She kept walking, her silver eyes steady, her small hand holding the human's firmly. They reached the edge of the colony where the mountains began. Snow dusted the peaks, the air colder and cleaner. Here, the world seemed larger, freer. The girl stopped, her gaze lifting to the sky. Broken satellites drifted slowly above, stars hidden behind smoke. Yet she could feel them calling. Not as a curse, not as a threat, but as family. "I do not want to stay here," she said softly. "This colony will never see me as I am. They will always call me cursed. I want to find a place where I can live, where I can shine without fear." The human looked at her for a long moment, then nodded, his voice calm. "Then we leave together. We build something new, somewhere they cannot chain you." Her silver eyes widened. "You would come with me." He gave a small, tired smile. "Where else would I go? I was only ever sweeping their floors, cleaning their dust, but with you, maybe I can do more, maybe I can matter too." Her hand tightened around his, her glow pulsing brighter. "Then we will go," she whispered. "We will find a place where tears turn to hope." The wind swept across the mountains, cold but fresh, carrying their words like a promise. Behind them, the colony remained the same, broken, fearful, greedy, but in front of them stretched the path of stars, open and endless. The girl took one last look at the streets where she once cried alone, then turned away, her heart lighter, her steps steadier. And so, side by side, a forgotten human janitor and the saddest alien girl walked toward a new dawn, their shadows long against the rising sun. No longer cursed, no longer alone, but together, carrying the light of hope where none had shone before. And though the universe was vast and filled with danger, it would also remember this story, the story of a human who stayed and a girl who rose from tears to hope, a story the stars themselves would never forget.